You can have some starch in your breakfast for taste. So for example, you might have a little slice of sourdough bread, some potatoes, etc. But most importantly, nothing sweet in the morning, except if you really want some.
Okay, before I get into my 5 favorite breakfast foods, there's something you need to know. Our ancient ancestors didn't crawl out of our caves asking what's for breakfast. They didn't find break fast until lunch or even dinner time. But today, most of us are eating constantly for almost 16 hours a day. That produces a real overload on our mitochondria, number one, those energy-producing organelles in most of our cells. And if you think about it, it produces an incredible overload on the working of the wall of your gut. Digestion and absorbing food is hard work, and it's damaging to the wall of your gut. And your gut needs, just like you do, some downtime to repair itself. And if you're constantly eating, you're constantly exposing the wall of your gut to work. So, quite frankly, the more downtime, rest and relaxation time we can give the wall of our gut, the better. And that's one of the reasons why time-restricted eating or intermittent fasting is such an effective treatment for so many diseases. In fact, a paper published just last week compared intermittent fasting with metformin, the most widely used drug to treat type 2 diabetes, and intermittent fasting blew away metformin as a way of reducing insulin resistance, as a way of getting rid of type 2 diabetes, just 2 days a week of limiting calories, the so-called 5-2 diet, was vastly superior in humans to metformin for reducing type 2 diabetes. Great news. Now, as most of you know, I typically limit my eating window to a 2-hour window during dinner time from the months of January through June. But I do break this on some weekends and enjoy breakfast in the afternoon. And when I do, I make sure I'm eating what is actually healthy for me. So let's go through some of my favorites. Have a handful of walnuts or macadamia nuts or hazelnuts or pistachios. Work by my friend Dr. Walter Longo, who's head of longevity at USC, in humans have shown eating a nut bar for breakfast does not break your fast, does not knock you out of ketosis. So you can have your breakfast and still act like you're fasting. And this is actually really great news for those of us who do want to continue our period of ketosis before we break it. It's fascinating when you look at healthy cultures around the world that many of these cultures have a fermented food as part of their breakfast. Kefirs are everywhere. In the Far East, kimchi is everywhere. Traditional Korean breakfast is heavy on kimchi, while in Japan they start their day with pickled radishes or natto, which is fermented soybeans. These are great sources of postbiotics. We used to think that these were sources of probiotics, friendly bacteria, but we now realize that most of these foods don't have any living bacteria, but it's the dead bacteria and the products of fermentation, which are now called postbiotics, that actually make the difference. So sour foods, fermented foods, are one of the best ways to start your break fast. That's a great breakfast. So let's go through some of my favorites. First of all, plain goat or sheep yogurt or plain coconut yogurt is really right up there. Couple things you can do. Most people do not like the tanginess of these yogurts. But now, thanks to allulose, which is a true sugar, which is actually a prebiotic, which no calories, will work great as a sweetener for these yogurts. The other thing about goat and sheep yogurt, and also coconut yogurt, is they're loaded with medium-chain triglycerides, which will promote ketosis, which is what you're looking for. Sadly, cow milk yogurt is the wrong casein A1, and really cow's milk does not have a lot of medium-chain triglycerides. Number 2, have an avocado with olive oil and or MCT oil. Scoop it out, mash it up, add some MCT oil, olive oil, and salt and pepper, and you're ready to go. I order sliced avocado all the time when I'm over in Europe, and it's readily available, and people don't even blink. It's often on many breakfast menus over in France and in Italy. That's how to have an avocado for breakfast, not avocado toast. If you really want to make it even more fun, cut the avocado in half, take out the pit, put 2 pasture-raised or omega-3 egg yolks in the pit, throw it in the broiler with olive oil, salt, and pepper, and eat it with a spoon. It's absolutely delicious. Finally, eggs are perfectly fine as a breakfast food as long as you remember to pay the money for the pasture-raised or the omega-3 raised eggs. In general, chickens are fed flax seeds and or algae to make omega-3 eggs. Pastured chicken by law have to go out and peck for a living. You can even one-up that and get lectin-free pastured chicken eggs from Farmer Dan at lectinlightchicken.com. And I have no relationship with them except I'm a huge promoter of what Farmer Dan's doing, and he now has lectin-free eggs for sale.
First and most important hack I teach people is to have a savory breakfast instead of a sweet one.
Yeah.
Right? And that is removing the fructose from your first meal of the day, which is so helpful.
All right, define a savory breakfast.
So a savory breakfast is a breakfast built around protein. Okay, so a good portion of protein, it can be animal protein, it can be plant protein. I love having dinner leftovers, so the leftover chicken or fish or whatever from the night before. You can have some starch in your breakfast for taste. So for example, you might have a little slice of sourdough bread, some potatoes, etc. But most importantly, nothing sweet in the morning, except if you really want some whole fruit. But again, for taste, right? What you want to avoid is a breakfast that is pure starch and sugar. For example, oats with honey and a banana, right?
Right.
Pure starch and sugars, glucose, fructose, big glucose spike. If you really love sweet taste in the morning, have, for example, an omelet and then have an apple, but a whole apple. Because when you transform a piece of fruit, then a lot of problems start happening. So no fruit juices, no jams, no cereal, no muesli, no granola, etc. No acai bowls, no smoothies. But if you really want something sweet, a piece of whole fruit.
So let me tell you the right way to eat breakfast. Breakfast should be a way of delivering healthy fats into you and healthy greens into you. Now everybody says, but Dr. Gundry, I'm not going to eat a salad for breakfast. So that's why I developed my green egg sausage muffin recipe. And I want to cook it for you today to show you just how easy it is to make a healthy breakfast, even on the busiest mornings. To make 12 muffins, you're going to need a pound of Dietzel Farms turkey or Italian sausage or turkey chorizo. I personally use a fantastic vegetarian product from Quorn that's called Grounds. Grounds is exactly like ground turkey or ground beef. You won't be able to tell the difference. This is made out of the roots of mushrooms and a few little bits of egg white, and quite honestly, it's my go-to choice. Now, I've already browned that pound of turkey Italian sausage, and I'll show you what we're going to do with that in a minute. So, what you want to do is heat the oven to 350 degrees while you're lining all this up. And then put some muffin cups in a standard 12-cup muffin tin. Now, you take your bag of spinach, and while the sausage is cooking, you cut a hole in the bag, and that'll let air out, and place it in the microwave on high for 3 minutes. Once you do that, you're going to cut a tiny edge out of the side of the spinach, the tip, and you're going to squeeze as much water out of this spinach as possible. The more water you get out, the better it's going to be. Okay, now we're going to start putting all of these ingredients in a Vitamix or a Blendtec. Throw that in there. We're going to put the eggs in there. Ooh, these are good omega-3 eggs. So we're going to put 5 eggs in there. Don't be afraid of all the eggs. They're really one of the keys to making this an enjoyable muffin. And please don't throw the yolks away. The yolks are the most important part of the egg. Okay, we're going to add the rest of the olive oil and all the rest of our ingredients. The salt, the Italian seasoning, the minced onion, the black pepper, and our 2 cloves of garlic that we've chopped. Okay, so we've got that all in the blender, and we're going to pulse this for about a minute. And that's actually pretty good. Okay, now once we have all that mixed around, we're going to transfer that into a bowl. And then we're going to stir in the sausage or the corn grounds. Okay, and then we're just going to mix that together. And we're just going to fill these muffin cups almost to the top. And so once we've got all this filled, we're going to put that in the oven and we're going to bake it for about 30 to 35 minutes until the tops start to brown. Okay, so they're ready, and you'll notice they've nicely browned on the edges. I like to do this on a weekend, and then I store them in a glass container in your refrigerator or wrapped in wax paper in your freezer. The beauty of this is breakfast the way you want it to be. Try the Plant Paradox. You're going to love the book. You're going to love the recipes. They're designed to improve your health, not damage your health. More amazing episodes just like this one. Watch now.
But what if I told you that some of the most popular high fiber foods on the market, even ones that you're buying at health food stores, are a complete waste of time?